Temporary US-Iran ceasefire set to end on Wednesday, but with no certainty over whether a second round of high-stakes talks will go ahead in Pakistan. However, according to Reuters, US Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to Pakistan on Tuesday for talks. He will travel with Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy, and Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. Vance also led the U.S. team during 21 hours of failed discussions with Iran earlier in the month, which collapsed after Iran would not agree to U.S. demands to end nuclear enrichment and hand over its 440 kg of highly enriched uranium. The Iranians had said there remained a deficit of trust with the U.S. and wanted assurances they would not be attacked again if a final agreement was reached. And for more on this, we have Shubhendu Ghosh joining us. Well, good morning, Shubhendu. With President Trump insisting now that the blockade will continue until a deal is reached, but also claiming an agreement is relatively quick. How do we see this apparent contradiction?
Good morning, Lipakshi. Talking about contradictions, I mean, it's not new for President Donald Trump to talk in contradictory terms, talk about war, peace, negotiations, ceasefire, or win, all in the same line. And whatever works, he can take credit for that. But coming to the seriousness of the situation, it is a logjam, tit-for-tat, catch-22-like situation emanating out of Strait of Hormuz. U.S. says that till the negotiations deal works out, it will not end the kind of blockade it is putting on the Strait of Hormuz. Iran wants that should be the starting point. Unless the blockade by the United States is removed, no talks can happen. No talks can happen under the shadow of threats. Remember, 1 day to go before that high-stakes ceasefire dateline expires. There are reports of the next round of negotiations could happen in Islamabad, Pakistan, but Iran, for now, is insisting that till America removes its blockade from the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran's influence, the manner in which it has been effectively able to weaponize Strait of Hormuz against adversaries of disproportionate power, it really holds the key for Iran in these negotiations, and therefore it is trying to stick to that point. The deal in itself, as and when it works out, if we refer to the 21-hour negotiations that took place, there are many contradictions that have come in from both sides. The United States puts at the center Iran's enriched uranium pile. It says that it is going to take that enriched uranium, about 400 kilograms of it, to the United States. Iran says none of that was discussed, and it is not in favor of U.S. taking that stockpile, although it says it does not intend to make an atomic bomb. Influence over the Strait of Hormuz is one of the important points that Iran wants to defend. Also, removal of sanctions are another important point. So the deal itself, the negotiation itself is going to be a very, very difficult coming together of the sides who are hitherto taking a very maximalist stand, trying to get as much as possible from the talks. But the beginning of talks, it seems, as of now, has met with this hurdle that is difficult to sort out.
Absolutely, Shubhendu. Many points of contention out there, but also given Iran's refusal to negotiate under what it calls a shadow of threats and deficit of trust, as you also mentioned, and comments from Mohammad Ghalibaf about preparing new cards on the battlefield. How likely is further escalation once the ceasefire expires, which is very near, of course, and how viable is diplomacy now?
Diplomacy, if it happens where all sides give up their maximalist stance, could work. The sides, in fact, who have never spoken to one another for decades had come to the negotiating table precisely because they saw the futility of the ongoing conflict that could go on and exhaust the resources and also disrupt a global economy. The manner in which we've seen the Strait of Hormuz, the blockade of it impacted energy prices, energy supply chain across the world. So talks definitely is a way out. Military action, however strong, however long, may not yield an easy result. I think both sides understand that very well. Iran could prolong its resistance to American attacks, and America could also go on dropping bigger bombs. But a negotiated solution is a viable long-term answer to the question that is being faced by West Asia at the moment. But that seems difficult because all parties really have to be on the same page. Trust, which is the foundation of any negotiations, is exactly the ingredient that is lacking as far as US-Iran talks are concerned. And let us not forget, although we often talk about Israel in the context of direct negotiations between US and Iran, but Israel's war objectives were quite different from the United States. Also, its threat perception from Iran is different from the US, given the geographical proximity. So the manner in which Israel would approach this conflict, this negotiation, whether it is on the side of a quick solution and quick prolonged ceasefire and peace, is something that we'll have to wait and watch.
All right. Also, of course, diplomacy is still a question, Shubhendu, but with leaders like Emmanuel Macron warning that the blockade is a mistake on both sides, how is international pressure going to shape Washington's strategy?
Lipakshi, we've seen for the past weeks of this conflict that key players, even in the region of West Asia, who were bombed by Iran, have tried to stay away from any direct involvement, direct confrontation in this conflict. The NATO, which is part of the American ally, pan-European ally, that has also refused to be a direct stakeholder, direct participant in this conflict because they don't want to expand the scope of the conflict. A couple of weeks ago, in the Security Council of the United Nations, there was a proposal moved by Bahrain to open the Strait of Hormuz at any cost, because the cost of it is being bared by the whole world, given the manner in which energy supply chain is being disrupted. But use of force to open the Strait of Hormuz, that proposal was rejected. So there are not many options available at the moment for the international community who are directly interested in resolving this conflict, particularly interested in opening and the smooth operation of the Strait of Hormuz. So a lot depends on when really the talks between US and Iran takes place, and when they take place, if a lasting resolution can be achieved.
Right, Shubhendu. Thank you so much for all that analysis.